On the
vacation
8th.
last month.
Well, the last was canceled because of
Yeah.
me. That was my
No,
fault.
June 8th.
We're going to call the meeting of the Public Safety Meeting for the City of Hudson to order August 10th, 2023. Roll call, please.
Alderperson Hall.
Here.
Alderperson Morissette.
Here.
Alderperson Wakefield.
Here.
Thank you. Number 3, approval of the minutes from June 8th.
Move to approve. Second.
Any further discussion? See none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Jumping right into the heavy lift, do we want to wait here? Let's see. Let's go down to number C. How about that? 4C, 11th Street traffic safety discussion. And I'll bring this up, and Steve O'Connell, if you want to come up and introduce yourself as well for the record.
Steve O'Connell, 101.
Yeah, pull that mic down to you.
We on now? Yep. Steve O'Connell, 101 11th Street South, up on the hill, 11th and Laurel. First, I just want to say I came at the June meetings, the last one, and we gave some of our hopes and things for the traffic situations. And I want to thank everyone here, as well as Joy, our alderperson, who came up and spent time and watched and walked it through and took all the time. Within 2 weeks, guys were out putting new stop signs up, spraying the intersection. They did the line from Taco John's up to the cemetery all within the week, and we saw some more patrol cars, and what a response, just great. So I just want to thank you all in person for that, for all that you did, and
Thank you.
and the reaction. And since then, we've had a meeting down the street with some of our neighbors, and they've gotten some things together, and I know they want to present some things tonight. So we're just, informational, trying to find out what we can do to help and to be part of it.
Excellent. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
And just so everybody for the public is aware, we do not have our copy of our traffic safety plan yet, because it is still in the works. So hopefully by our next meeting next month, we will have that, where we get a little more concrete information of how we can proceed with these certain hotspots throughout the city for you. So with that, are there any other folks that need to talk about the 11th Street? If you want, please come to the podium. State your name and your address for the record, please.
Hi, I'm Emily Martin.
Hi, Emily.
And hi, yeah, I've met you guys before. Nice to see you again. Thank you for being here. Thank you for what you do. I'm at 330 11th Street, and I live there with my husband, Paul, and my 3 young daughters. So yeah, we're here today. We're here with a bunch of our neighbors who all share the common goal of the pedestrian safety for 11th Street. And, 11th Street was never designed to be the main thoroughfare in Hudson that it's become today. It's a narrow road with mostly residential housing, no sidewalks and driveways that feed directly onto the street. There's a road repavement plan in place with a sidewalk addition. However, this has already been pushed back to 2025. And its primary source of funding, I hear, is federal and state grants. So it seems like we have little local control over when this project's actually going to happen. So my neighbors and I agree that there are things that need to happen now and that can happen now for the safety of the families who live on 11th Street, and our timeline is urgent. In the past few years, the neighborhood has seen an explosion of young families with children. The Like with the crazy housing market, our neighborhood offers some of the most affordable homes in Hudson for young families. So with EP Rock, also 2 blocks away in Williams Park, a couple blocks up the road as well, it's also an attractive neighborhood for young families. On top of this, many of the homes are also becoming multi-generational, and some of the houses are also being rented out to young families who can't yet afford to get in the market right now. I cannot stress enough that what we're seeing as a result of this is our neighbor is becoming dense with little kids, and it only seems to be growing in this way. 11th Street is not safe for pedestrians, let alone kids. It's frustrating driving around town and seeing all the traffic signs, flashing lights, crosswalks that other roads have, some that aren't even as busy as ours. Then coming home to our road, it feels neglected. And if I didn't live on 11th Street, I would speed down it like everyone else because there's hardly any formal sign or indication that this is a residential neighborhood with many children present. There's also zero indication that certain areas of 11th Street are actually a school zone. All of us want kids to be able to walk to school and to the park freely, but it's just not safe on 11th Street. My neighbors and I have put up our own signs to try to give some indication to drivers. We're just asking simple things. We want them to slow down, stop at the stop signs, be aware of the presence of children. And we're also asking that the city now steps up and does their part in recognizing the issue at hand. We have put together a list of ideas for how you can help us. So here's the list. So number 1, added speed limit signs. Number 2, indicate that it is a school zone and have a decreased speed limit of 15 during the appropriate hours. Number 3, add a crosswalk at the intersection of Girard and 11th with flashing lights, like the yield to pedestrian button signage. Number 4, an added stop sign at the intersection of Girard and 11th. That could be interchangeable with the flashing light yield sign. Number 5, 2 permanent speedometers going both north-south directions. Number 6, posts or delineators for the current walking path delineation. Number 7, permanent speed bumps with the road repavement project. And number 8, enforcement. Hold people accountable by patrolling the area and ticketing for violation. Some of these ideas may cost a lot of money, but some of them don't. Some of them are just problems that need recognition and a couple signs and or paint to increase public awareness. I urge you as community members to drive around Hudson, look at major roadways like Vine, 2nd Street, Grandview, look at all their signs, look at their pedestrian crosswalks with flashing lights, look at their school zone indicators, and ask yourselves why this hasn't happened on 11th Street. You all are in the position to make the changes that someone else honestly should have done a long time ago. I'm sorry this falls on your shoulders, but it needs to be done. And I'm just asking that you please side with us. We can do this together and just recognize the urgency of the matter. Because all of my neighbors and I know that it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when something's gonna happen. And we all also wanna say that we did what we could to prevent it. Thank you.
Thanks, Emily. Any other folks want to speak? State your name and your address for the record, please.
My name is Kimberly Waltz, and I live on the corner of 11th and Morrison at 310 11th. And first of all, I want to thank our local law enforcement for everything that they do. I truly know how hard your job is. I worked for over 22 years at Washington County in the criminal courts, and we had a very close relationship with all of our law enforcement. I want to thank all of the rest of you here, too. This morning, I sat outside for about an hour on the front steps, and I watched the traffic. For the most part, people were going the speed limit. The problem that I saw was I saw 3 cars in that period of time go over the line for the walking bike path. And also, my husband and I are both retired, and so we're home a lot. And there's times where I hear a car coming and there's like just a swoosh sound. They are going so fast down our street. We're trying to do our part. If you probably have driven down our street, you see the signs that we put out there. My husband and I take time sometimes to just sit out there to try to like deter people from speeding. So I just hope that you'll think about the things that Emily brought up, and we all feel the same way.
Great.
Thank
Thank you.
I have some pretty pictures, not just talking.
State your name and your
Yes.
address for the record, please.
I am Paul Martin, 330 11th Street. Give me a second.
You look different in your picture.
That's an. I don't wear a suit very often. I want to say thank you again. I appreciate you all, and I know you got budgets and you got stuff to do. I don't mean to beat a dead horse. Hopefully this is maybe the last time. But every time we brought this up, we always get the response of like database decisions. So I'm the data side of this, right? So I'm going to say, hey, this is the data I see. And if anything I said is wrong, like please just tell me how I'm wrong. I would love to hear it. But I appreciate the opportunity to be here and speak to you. This is a critical part of the democratic process, and I appreciate it. So we're just going to talk about the whole Hudson School District. So I'm going to talk through each individual school and the walking distance and the population and enrollments and all that kind of stuff. The good thing is Hudson's growing. Everybody loves to live here, right? Population's booming. You guys hired a consultant or somebody to do a 2040 plan, right? And they said, holy cow, you're going to grow by 47% by 2040. Great. Everybody loves to be here. I love to be here. Interestingly, the 2040 plan says, and this is obvious, but you don't think about it, that there's only 2 north-south corridors that cross I-94, causing these arterials to be some of the most heavily trafficked by residents and commuters. And then it's in fine print, you can barely see it, but it says, continual investment will need to be provided for safe transportation system that serves pedestrians, bicycles, transit, etc. So I think the issue is we all see it, right? And you're not going to build another bridge over 94. We're not asking for that, but it's busy, right? And we're going to grow. It's going to get worse. It's bad now, but it's going to get worse. So, and then I'm like, okay, well, how many cars go past my house every day? So I went on Wisconsin DOT traffic counts, and this is really interesting. You know, we have almost 4,000 cars a day. Grandview, which has better infrastructure than us, has no driveways that go off of it. They have a sidewalk and they have a lit crosswalk. They have about half the traffic that we have. St. Croix has less than half than what we have. Obviously, downtown, built different time, has sidewalks. We get all that, right? But there's a lot of traffic, and if that goes up by even more, that's crazy. It's kind of what it looks like. Carmichael by the middle school is approximate to what 11th Street sees. So Willow River has the highest population within walking distance, but it's primarily people over the age that have kids in elementary school. And they also have the second lowest enrollment. But they have sidewalks in every single direction. And when they hit 2nd Street, which is the most interesting thing, which serves only a very small portion of the population that walks, they have not only sidewalks, but they have a double crosswalk, both with flashers. They could easily just walk across the street, across St. Croix, and then go across, but the community put in 2 double flashers, which is great, but that's only 2 blocks from Willow River. And it's a school zone. So I'm not totally sure what a school zone, like what makes it a school zone. Like 2nd Street's really busy, but it's 2 blocks away, it's a school zone. So to me, that means 11th Street's a school zone. Here's that double crosswalk. Rivercrest, way smaller parking or walking distance. We all know that, right? But they've got 12 crosswalks. They have 25% of the population of EP Rock. And O'Keefe Road, interestingly, has about the same traffic count that 11th Street does, within a few percentage. And they have a tunnel under it, which is great. I'm glad it's there, but I'm curious how much it gets used. Hudson Prairie, busy, big school, right? Totally get it. Dedicated crosswalks. And they also have the flashers that we're talking about. So similar traffic, bigger enrollment, but they have sidewalks and flashing crosswalks. and they have a stop sign at the other access. Holton, smallest enrollment, smallest walking distance, they have a dedicated paved path off of traffic, and it's a school zone. EP Rock, pretty large population, primary age from demographics. Interestingly, I'm in that range, and I have kids in elementary school, so I'm statistically, there's probably more. There's a lot. Some are here. And the second largest enrollment, and it's planned to grow. And we're just out of the busing distance for the high school, which is interesting. So even high school kids walk up 11th Street and go to high school. EP Rock, the only sidewalk in this entire area is on school property, up 13th, which 13th also is admittedly a problem, but that also needs a lot of the same things that we're talking about, but specifically 11th Street just sees a lot more traffic. Kids and parents have no choice but to walk in with traffic every direction to school. Thank you for the stop signs at Morrison. We appreciate that. And then the crosswalks, the crazy thing is, and thanks for painting that line, but the crosswalks they exist, but they're so dilapidated that you can't see them. And my worst nightmare is a kid walks on this crosswalk because it's a crosswalk, I'm safe, but a driver can't see it because it's so dilapidated, you know? So maybe it needs a repainting, but then it leads to kind of nowhere too. So it's like we're inviting people to cross but then they're just walking with traffic. So it's hard.
I can tell you it's a two-man crew. They're out trying to get everything painted, but I'm just to inform you.
Totally get it, right? And I appreciate that you painted the line. These are the things, my wife said, the delineators are pretty cheap. I get like we got to remove snow and we have all these issues. Thankfully our neighbors that are here, they shovel through their lawns so our kids can walk in their lawn instead of the road in the wintertime. And that's kind of the desperate measures that the team, everybody in this group has taken. So in summary, I don't think we're asking for special treatment, but I think we're just looking for like an equitable installation of the infrastructure that other schools got, right? Like Willow River has it, way less kids, they've got great infrastructure, and it's all timing and all that stuff. But with timing, Hudson's gonna only grow. The enrollment's gonna grow there because I was on that committee on accident too, and I know they might expand. So as a whole, I think 11th Street needs some help, and I hope that we get that help from you guys. That's all.
Thank you. Good presentation, too.
Thanks. Oversee next time.
Anybody else want to talk to the issue in the audience?
I am Brianna Sorleen, and this is Adele and Elise Sorleen. We are at 319 11th Street South and Kinseth Sorleen. We're right across from Emily and Paul. The girls just kind of wanted to share their perspective. I don't know if they want me to speak for them or if they want to speak. Okay. Do you want to see it? How you feel on the road? Speak up there. When you're biking and when you're walking to school, how does it feel?
I'm scared.
You're scared. Why? So a lot of times when did you want to add anything to that? You can. Yeah. One time, motorcycle.
One time, there was a guy that was, on a motorcycle, and then he saw
us and the signs that the community has put out. And we were outside, and instead of slowing down, he literally looked at the children, sped up, and started swerving up. And so I think that's kind of how they're feeling. We have to cross the street every day to school. Our neighbors next to us actually back their car out and hold traffic so we can cross safely. Because the crosswalk isn't painted, cars are flying down. I think in the last 2 weeks, because I'm teaching summer school, I'm a teacher in the district, and we walk to EP Rock for summer school, the girls have almost been hit 3 times.
What crosswalk is your closest to?
The closest one is the street up
One that he showed, it's by Morrison.
Yep. And it literally goes into our neighbor's yard.
On 11?
On 11th, yep, so we're walking through the street. Another big concern I do have is that high school having the cutoff. I've had some other parents who have students in high school, and during the winter, when high school starts, when it's still dark, plows might be out, there's big mounds of snow, those kids are having to walk down the street. It's just not safe for a child. So a lot of parents whose kids probably can walk to high school, their high schoolers, are having to drive their kids because it's just not a safe environment for them. Did it not want to say something? Let it say something.
And also, when we were biking, there was this red car that came flying down the street.
And they almost got hit. So they love biking, they love being outside, they love being kids, but they're very scared right now to do that and don't feel safe. And it seems like since we've taken this on as a neighborhood and a community, there are a lot of people who are respecting it, but then there's some people who aren't, and just think it should be more of a city thing. How can we help? What can we do?
When I was biking, there was a gray car, and it started, it was slow, and then it go really, fast.
Last thing.
And also when people see, my dad's sign, they see it and then they speed up.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. We do really appreciate everybody's input because that's the way we can help, move this forward and get it done. With your help and our help, we can do it together. And hopefully we can come up with some answers. I think there are some of these things that are immediate fixes. Committee, if you have anything to add. I know that painting, we can
Painting is,
enjoy. I know that you could work with Public Works to maybe put something up on the list a little further first around the school zones, especially before they start. And typically they do try to get it done before the start of the school year. And then,
Is there any, the school zone component, can it be classified as a school zone? Is there a public works reason, or is it an emergency route? Like what, is there a reason not to call it a school zone?
no, Jeff, can you answer?
No, and I believe that any roadway, this is from our, correct me if I'm wrong, Joyce, but this is from our Safe Routes to School conversations, right? So any roadway that is used for children to walk or bike to school is considered a school zone. So there might be only certain points of 11th Street that are considered a school zone. I have to go up there and look at the signage or lack thereof to
I thought it had to be
kind of
adjacent to the school in order to be a school zone.
No, I think
But I don't
it's-
understand why Second Street is a school zone.
Well, and that might have something to do with the state highway, but wasn't,
Because we wanted to make Chestnut a school zone, and we weren't able to do that, so we just put in a 15-mile speed limit, which of course
didn't work.
didn't work.
Right.
So
Yeah, I'll have to look
we had to
into
put the
that.
speed
I'll have
humps
to
in
look
there.
into that a little further. But I thought connecting areas could be considered school zones. But I might be wrong.
Kids that cross over that street to get
Let's look into that deeper, and then if, I don't have issues with zoning it a school zone.
Can we just, if we can't zone it a school zone, can we change the speed limit to 15 on that? I know that doesn't usually, changing the speed limit doesn't make a difference in people's behavior, but it does allow the police to ticket more people.
And would that be like the 15 miles an hour during school hours?
No, it would be 15 miles an hour at all times.
A lot of them have that when children. are
Right, when
present.
children, that's for a school zone.
Yep.
Okay?
And then another stop sign in there, would that,
You wanted school crossing signs. Would you mind stepping up with that list again, and let's verify what you're requesting so we can actually get it
Yeah.
to the right department and discuss it properly. Now, mind you, a lot of this is gonna be falling under this, traffic taming policy as soon as
Sure.
we get that.
So the added crosswalk that we're requesting is at the intersection of Girard and 11th, because that would help connect that entire neighborhood over there to us. And then there's just like a little bit of a place on 11th Street that they can get to Morrison to get to school.
Okay?
And a lot of kids ride their bikes back and forth. Like my next door neighbors are always riding their bikes back and forth right there too. So that's also an idea would be to have an added stop sign there. I don't know if that's feasible, or at least, some sort of like yield to pedestrian, like flashing lights, the push button.
Yeah.
And nice thing is that we can plan ahead. I know you guys want it sooner than later, obviously, but when we do the reconstruction,
Right.
a lot of these things we can fold into the financing of it.
Yeah.
Because I know that we spent, I think each of them were 10 grand a piece, and you probably want two of them, so there's 20 grand right there just for those flashing yield signs.
Right. Yeah, and I think in the meantime, if we could at least do an added crosswalk there and
Absolutely.
Yeah.
with a yield to pedestrian without, if we have to wait for the flashing lights, as long as we know it's coming would be nice. But, and then, I don't know if, like I said, the stop sign, if that would be a good thing for that intersection.
And that's the thing with the traffic and our city engineers, that it
Yeah.
gets hard to start placing stop signs
Right.
in the middle of throughways.
Yeah.
Thoroughfares.
Yeah, I get that.
Well, and the
it's
other
right in-
thing-
Yeah, sorry, go on.
The other thing that the previous city engineer really emphasized was that the more stop signs you put in, the faster people go in
Yeah.
between the stop signs to make up time.
Sure.
And so they really don't do a lot. So the best ways to slow down the traffic is to have physical barriers to narrow the road.
Yeah, we talked about using our cars and just parking them all along 11th Street to make it
And that would probably be,
narrow.
that would probably be effective.
Yeah, we just.
And we also have to, when we start talking about narrowing roads, though, we also have to consider emergency vehicles, accessibility for that as well. That, that may calm the traffic, but it may also impede our EMS and fire and such from being able to get to where they need to go to help people as well.
But if you look at Second Street, they've got some, like Second and St. Croix, they've got an island there in the middle, and then they've got bump outs from the curb.
Yeah.
Those are designed to slow the traffic down.
That would be like awesome if we could have that at least in one place, if not more than one place on 11th. That would be really cool. Because I do, like when we drive down Second Street, we drive really slow, and like you see them in other places too, and I think it really draws your attention. So yeah, that would be awesome. Our other ideas are, we'd really like the permanent speedometers. I know you guys have done your due diligence and, put them up for data collection, and we appreciate that. We'd just like some there more permanently, because we believe that helps a lot with traffic. And then posts and delineators for the walking path, like Paul kind of talked about as well. You know what I'm talking about? Like they're like kind of those rubber like post stands.
Yeah. We use some of the, downtown, we use some things that, just say crossing during the non-winter times.
You mean the middle sign?
Yeah, the little,
Green, yellow, or?
yeah, we could probably get some of those,
Okay.
because that's a reasonably cost item.
Yeah, I think the school zone delineators and new paint
Mm-hmm.
go a long way. Like, I think everything else is really expensive in the long term, but those three things are low-hanging fruit, and I think they make an impact.
Yeah. I think this committee could agree with that and probably come up with a motion to push to finance so we can take a look at it, and/or public
And
works.
Public Works,
And
I think
Public- yeah.
Public Works needs to look at it first to see what they, to make sure that we're working as a team with that.
Well, Joy, does that work for you? You are a citizen of the city of Hudson.
Well, and our Public Works agenda was just released in the last hour for next week, but we are going to talk about, we're going to have the same presentation that our city engineer, Erin McPhee Anderson, provided to your committee back in May. So she's going to present that to us, and of course, because we're all going to be part of the discussion about traffic calming and establish a policy, or at least to let the public know how can we respond to concerns and questions when someone comes forward with a complaint.
Will
or
you
something.
introduce yourself?
Oh, yes, Joy Knudsen, City Council member for District 3, which I do cover this.
She's the Public Works chairperson?
I am the chairman of the Public Works Committee. Thank you, Randy. And our district's abut, so you certainly, you're also covering part of 11th Street too in that concern. What I wanted to say is we are going to take up the issue. The City Council had decided this winter to allocate the remaining ARPA funds towards public works projects. And certainly we've looked at some street projects, but we are going to have a discussion about perhaps purchasing more traffic monitoring devices. So that gives the police chief and his department opportunity to cover more neighborhoods, because obviously these complaints and concerns come from other places too. And maybe leave the devices up longer, those that are considered to be temporary, that gather data and so on. So we'll have to work with the police department to see what they might like, but I am bringing that idea before our committee, so we'll be discussing that next week. So perhaps we have more tools to both measure and at least bring temporary control. And I know the permanent devices are desired. As an update just for the general public, we do have a grant next that's been federal money administered through WSDOT. And I believe we were supposed to design it this year and build it next year, but as things often happen, WSDOT has pushed it back another year. So the design process for 11th Street will be occurring, we believe, this fall, which our city engineer will be a part of it, but also we are required to hire an outside design firm because it's grant money. So there will be opportunity for citizen input and some of those ideas. So anyway, I just want to give you that update. Again, that agenda just came out, but we are going to talk about that next week. Perhaps that will be helpful to public safety and our police department to just have some more of those devices to monitor, really check the speeds in the neighborhood, and also those temporary signs.
Yeah, Joy, and if you could, I was going to suggest TARPA funds at finance for
Yes.
the blinking yield sign, which is solar operated,
Correct, yes.
which
and-
would
and
be
I
helpful
think
a lot,
Aaron
especially
McPhee,
Gerard and 11th.
sure, and Aaron McPhee Anderson has been gathering the data about
Great.
installation and costs for those items. So yes, we'll have to talk about it going forward. I do, regarding the painting issue, as I know you've had Public Works Director here, Mike Mraz. In the past, I just talked to him the other day, they're almost out of their paint supply. Budget is tight, but I reminded him that you had suggested, Randy, that we could loosen up some more money.
Yep.
If paint's available. Evidently, even paint is difficult to acquire for our own department. We have an in-house crew that does painting, and they've also hired an outside group to do some painting, striping this year. So anyway, a little update from Public Works.
Thank you.
Thanks. I think we can find some money in the undesignated fund for some more paint.
In the Public Works Department, right, Jeff? All right, is there?
So you need a motion to,
Yep.
what is the motion?
So you're asking me to make a motion? or
I'm
you want-
asking,
craft
I'm,
one?
well, I think we need help. Scrap.
We want to
One at a
bring
time.
the issue. Go ahead.
Cool. Go ahead. When?
Did you ask what we thought that motion was going to be?
Yes.
I believe it had something to do with adding a crosswalk to Gerard and permanent delineators for looking at those, and looking at school zone. We were going to bring that to Public Works and Finance to see if that would be something we could do. I think that's what we had talked about.
Sort of, but immediate
Right.
motionable, actionable items, the crosswalk painted on Morrison and 11th Street, the speed monitors, and I don't believe, and then the school zone signs we can look at.
What speed monitors are you talking about?
I think, aren't those the ones you hang on the posts?
Well, there's a variety of different kinds. There's the temporary ones that are like that, and then there's the more permanent ones that are in 2 locations on Vine Street. One up by the YMCA and one down by, what is that, 5th or 6th Street?
Were those the ones that were 10,000 apiece?
I think they're around that. I don't know.
Yeah, the temporary ones are,
Cheaper than
I think,
that.
$6,000 a piece, so.
Well, we can leave that out right now, or we don't. We can send it to Finance, Public Works, both.
But also the little signs right in the center that say pedestrian crossing.
The center line markings,
Yeah.
we can't do the delineators, I don't believe.
I thought that was what they were called, the pole thing that they're talking about.
The delineators are the line things that go all the way down the bike path. I think that might be out of our
Oh, I
purview.
thought she still, the picture he showed was of that. Sorry, I'm thinking of something else then.
She's
Whatever
on-
the post
The
was.
center line is that green thing, children or crossing.
Ones you see in
Pedestrian.
downtown on Second
Crossing.
Street.
Those are,
I thought that's what he was calling them. My apologies.
okay.
Okay, I'll make the motion for all of that.
And what's that? Will you repeat it for Melanie?
Okay. Painted lines. So for crosswalks.
Well, be specific, yeah.
So all of the crosswalks that are currently there on 11th, and then an additional one at Gerard.
Morrison 11th or Gerard and 11th?
Gerard,
Gerard and 11th.
Redo the one at Morrison.
Okay.
yes. Then the pedestrian crossing signs for each of the crosswalks,
Center lane markings.
center line, okay. And then, what was the other one?
Evaluate school zone.
Oh, yes, evaluate the school zone.
Okay.
Did we miss anything?
No, that's good for starters, because
Okay.
separately, we could talk about speed limit if you want, if
Mm-hmm.
comfortable or not yet. But with the new traffic taming policy coming out, we might be going ahead of the horse.
Okay. Anyway, let's just start there.
So is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Anything to add during the discussion? Chiefs? Just don't block your rigs, right? Yeah. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Is there an appetite to change speed limit yet?
I think that we need to find out about the school zone first.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, so next Public Safety Committee meeting, we should be talking about that.
Okay. So if we could have that on the next agenda, Melanie, that would be great. So we've got to start. If you guys want one or another, just keep in contact with us. Come to the meeting for sure if you want, and we'll keep doing what we have to do to make it safer up there. You're welcome. And just buy a police uniform for Steve. You didn't hear me say that.
I can just get you the information on the school zone. Do you need that on the next agenda?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Here, he said, yeah, you're gonna get you. Police Explorers, you can be the senior guy in the group.
Playing all those Hershey bars are gonna pay off sooner or later.
All right, I see. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Appreciate that. I see Mary Claire waiting in the corner. If you want to take 4D, the Hudson Chamber Spirit of St. Croix Art Festival. If you'd like to come up, Mary Claire. Yeah, comfy tonight.
Well, I walked down.
Oh.
Mary Claire Potter with the Hudson Chamber of Commerce here for your request and approval of the Spirit of St. Croix Art Festival. It's been a long-time partnership that we've had with the Phipps Center for the Arts for, I think we're on year 14. So look forward to another great event this year.
Anything new this year? Anything exciting? Just how many artists you got coming?
It's always new and it's always exciting. We have 80 artists and some fabulous new bands that will be in the band shell. And then again, some great food vendors and art vendors. We'll have our aerialist, Silk person on Saturday. And so we're working for something special on Sunday. And then the Paint the Canoe will be back this year too.
Excellent, thank you.
Are you selling tickets this year?
Thank you for that question. No, not right now.
Any questions?
It is a free event.
Any concerns from chiefs?
Yeah, we just need to make sure you're doing the fence around the event again.
Yes, so the fence will be the same with the 3 entrances and then having security officers at each of those 3 entrances.
Okay.
And then security overnight.
We're expecting our visitor again, so.
Yes, I had a long 40-minute call about that today.
Okay.
Move
Okay.
to approve?
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mary Claire.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, if I can just take one more moment, I would encourage you to also look at the intersection of Second and Walnut. I was almost hit by a truck when I was crossing tonight.
Oh, thank you. Glad you are safe. All right. Back up to 4A, winter parking issues follow-up. Chief Spillman?
Yeah, so we, Police Chief, myself, Public Works Director Mraz met, had a lengthy discussion on trying to get our arms around the winter parking issues. As much as odd evens is the popular thing to do, we just felt that that's a little confusing. It's probably not gonna be followed anyways, just because of the confusion. So we're working to identify those neighborhoods where there's the narrower streets and where the issues were this winter, and then just posting them, no parking on one side from November to April is probably the easiest thing to do. Going forward, doing some outreach with the apartments in the area, just reminding that when they're told to clear out for their lots, they can't be parking in front of fire hydrants. They still have to follow the snow removal rules if there's a snow emergency. So get in touch with them, and then I know the police chief was gonna work with law on trying to clean up some of the language in the ordinance on how long it's gonna take to remove vehicles.
Right. Currently, it takes
48 hours.
48 hours to get a car out of there, which doesn't help Public
No.
Works,
Yeah.
right? Because we have to placard it. Hey, here's your ticket. Now you got 24 hours to get rid of it. And then if it's not, then it gets another ticket and then gets towed. So we're gonna try and figure out if there's a way that when we declare an event, if the car is parked in violation, that we can just
Right
get
away.
it out of there.
Excellent.
So that's the best thing that's the easiest and probably the least expensive we could come up with was just posting them, no parking on one side.
And I think the simplicity is going to make it very understandable for everybody so that they don't have to ponder, can I or can I, what kind of,
Yep.
it'll be posted, so.
And it still allows the parking in the neighborhoods, it just
Yes.
doesn't allow two-sided parking.
And I think once you tow a few cars, people will get the idea real fast.
Yeah, and that's not the intent, like,
No.
we don't wanna do that. I
No.
mean, that's the last resort kind of thing.
So we're gonna need you to quadruple the size of our impound lot. I'm just letting you know that.
And that might be information that people are gonna need to know, especially if they wanna come get their car.
Well, they call us pretty quick after they realize their car has been towed.
And what is it to get your car out?
$200.
Good. So something we should probably get to the public so they know not to do this. But clean as simple as.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So
I
what do you need
appreciate
from us tonight?
Maybe just approval to go forward with changing the ordinance.
Yeah, just changing the parking, or approving the parking restrictions from
Well, you're
November.
still working on it, correct?
Yeah, because we haven't identified all the streets yet that they're gonna mark.
So I don't think there's any
Yes.
formal action.
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't think there's,
So you're okay with us working with Nick and
Yep.
could get it all written up? Because even the posted, once you identify the streets that need to be posted, what side, that has to go in ordinance too,
Are
so,
you talking Nick, the lawyer?
yeah.
Then we better. because
Okay,
we're gonna
I'll make the
spend money.
motion that the police and fire chief and the public works director work together on getting language, updating the ordinance. Is that enough?
You guys know you guys know what you're doing.
Yep, we just need authorization from you essentially, because it's
Yes.
gonna cost the city money
Correct.
for us to do
Right.
this.
yeah.
So, okay, so I should Put in there to work with the city attorney to update the ordinance. Okay.
There you go. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you. And where'd my agenda go? Number, which one? B, radio communication.
Yeah, so this is information only. There's nothing actionable. I want to make the committee aware. So in one of our recent apartment buildings, we did a walkthrough in the building. We started to notice we had degradation in radio communications. And the way the county system is designed, fire only has one true dedicated channel to talk on, and well, EMS for that matter. That's a repeated channel in the county. When we get on scene, we switch to a non-repeated channel, which is basically a line of sight channel. Because of the way the buildings are constructed, and even like U-line will be an issue, any of your big box stores, the line of sight radios don't work. They can't penetrate the building, right? So we rely on St. Croix County Ops, the second channel. It's a shared channel between law enforcement and fire. Because it's a repeated channel, it has comes in different angles in the building where you have communications. The problem that we're seeing, not the problem, but because county fire doesn't have an additional channel, law enforcement actually has law 1, law 2, they can use ops. You can switch to a city channel. So really you had potentially 4 channels for law enforcement, and fire has 1, 2 with a shared channel with law enforcement. There's several avenues we can take to try to remedy the problem. My fear is we're gonna get in a situation where we're gonna lose contact with crews in the building. And if something happens, either they're gonna get lost, they're gonna be trapped, we're not gonna be able to talk to them, we're not gonna be able to know that there's an issue. Right now, I'm working with Baycom to try to figure out if putting repeaters in our trucks would work and switching to a different channel altogether. Again, it's a cost thing. We're gonna be meeting with the county communications center here in 2 weeks to talk about the issue of not having enough fire channels in the county. It's probably going to become a political issue because the center is run by the sheriff's department. So again, it becomes a county-wide issue because it's an infrastructure for the whole county. So it's one of those things like, where does the money come from? How do you pay for it? And are they going to support fire trying to get another channel in the county? So we'll see where it goes, but I just want to make you aware that we're having radio issues, communication problems within the city, within our buildings. We don't have a great option to switch to. The ops channel, which we often use, especially when we go to Willow River State Park because of the terrain, is used for concerts in Somerset, so it's tied up. If they do any law enforcement activities, search warrants, trying to think last night what they had up in Holton.
Well, any large scale event.
Any large scale or
that to
they
get
pull
off
off
of
they
the
pull
main
off and
channel.
on that channel. So that doesn't allow fire to use that channel at all. And then we're limited to the one county channel, and that's where all 8 departments in the county, along with 3 EMS agencies, use. And now we're talking on top of each other
So
constantly.
it doesn't matter the equipment.
Yeah.
So if we bought you better radios,
No,
it would still have to use the function of.
the radio, our physical radios, our radios that we use aren't the issue. It's the infrastructure that the radios use is the problem. So,
Well, and we're probably tempting fate the longer we go without that option, because we have like this event that we had a couple weeks ago with the storm that comes through. And if that goes straight down 94 and takes out every community along the way, how are all of those communities going to communicate amongst themselves when we only have one channel to do it?
Yeah.
yeah, and that's a good point. We had a after action with the sheriff's department, comm center, the local law enforcement agencies of the storm, and what went well, what didn't go well, how can we improve it? And one of the big things that came up was radio communications.
When's the last time we bought you new radios? Didn't we just switch to the good radios for the Washington County?
That's a
radio?
completely different radio system.
It's completely different. That's 800 megahertz. We're still on basically digital.
Yeah.
Is
VHF
that something
type
an
thing.
overall issue as well that maybe we need to look at?
That's an
That's a state
issue.
issue.
That's a state
It's a state
issue.
issue. The state of Wisconsin has a major radio issue.
Okay.
St. Croix County is not unique. It's just, I think it's time that we start progressing and start trying to figure out a way, have a plan going forward, start to remedy some of these issues.
Is that CAD thing we got, that's just.
That's a whole different animal of that. It has nothing to do with the radio communications. That's more of a internal thing from dispatch to dispatch center.
Okay.
It's not just a fire issue. When there's a major event that happens in the county, our crews don't even try to get on the radio because they're just going to get walked on by someone else.
I've
I've talked to the county about that. We're just not even going to try because no one's hearing you. So
So
we're
then
just
what do
going to
you
show
do?
up.
Oh.
They don't know we're here because we're not checking in. And it happened the day of the storm. It happens all the time. So it's, they'll just go and try and do a face-to-face when they get there, but.
It's a safety issue. I'm extremely concerned
yeah.
when I can't talk to our members
Yes.
in the building. You know, that's a big deal. And,
So what was the county's response to this?
well,
I think they know.
they
right?
know there's an issue, I think, and I mean, they're willing to have the discussion, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's who's gonna pay for it. And it's not a cheap fix. The state's looking at putting in a new statewide radio system. The problem with that is they're gonna go, so we're in a VHF system, they wanna go 800 digital, which means we all have to buy all new radios, right? But there's been no mechanism from the state to allow grant money to be sent out for people to buy new radios. So they're gonna put a system in that nobody can get on because they're not gonna give you the money to buy the radios to get on the system, as of
Gosh.
yet.
Yes, the state
So-
has this nice surplus. You'd think that maybe,
So once,
So it's, you know, this is information only. I guess the big thing is if we're gonna do some testing with a vehicle repeater, if that solves some of our problems short to midterm, it's obviously there's a cost involved with it, and we'd be coming back asking for some funds, and I just, it is what it is. I mean, I just wanna make you guys aware of that there's an issue and that I think the discussion needs to get started.
oh, absolutely.
Municipal level up to the county level.
When it
And
comes-
this is a county-wide problem. We share one, like John was saying, one main radio channel with dispatch for every fire department, every EMS agency in the county. And if more than one call is going on at a time, it is absolute chaos on the radio. So,
Well, it's safety. We want to be up on top of that, so keep us
yep,
informed.
for sure.
Yes.
I just wanted to just bring it to your attention.
Thank you.
Yep.
The next item is E, 4E. And I had asked to have this put on the item, on the agenda because it was asked by the immediate residents up there at one of our council meetings. So I wanted to start the discussion on it. Not necessarily take any action tonight, but start the discussion on it because it does fall within the traffic timing policy and it's in the middle of one of our throughways. I believe that there is an issue there. It's a blind spot when you're
Yes,
turning left to
it
go
is.
up Ninth. And you can't see what's coming up over the hill.
yeah, if you're driving up Vine, you can't see the intersection at Ninth. And so, would a stop sign work there? Or would we need a crosswalk, like, with the flashing lights like we've got at the Y and other places? And I think we need recommendations from Aaron.
We do. And one of the most tragic things is that we have had a death up that way. I don't know if it was directly related to that intersection. Do you recall?
A traffic accident?
No, a biking pedestrian got killed up there.
Oh, yeah, that was not intersection related. That was a little further down the hill.
Yeah.
But in general, there is an issue there, so. Lynn, any thoughts?
I understand there are issues and there are hot spots throughout all of the
Yes.
city. And I just want to caution us that we don't that we get the traffic calming policy in place so that there is consistent, equitable, safe measures that it's not just, I want a stop sign, I want to make sure that we are consistent across the city for issues that come. And again, the flow chart that Aaron had brought, I believe from, I'm not sure if it was New Richmond, but that was really like, it starts here, okay, this issue's been identified, and then it's collecting data, which, by the way, you did a really nice job with the 11th Street. That was very informative, the information on that.
And it's in color.
Yeah. But then you take that and then you kind of approach it, not everything, but the least restrictive. And then you go back and you collect it. So I just caution us that we make sure that we get that in place before we start addressing individual issues on an individual basis, that we can refer back to a plan that we're going to follow consistently.
Yeah, and I agree, and my apologies that Lynn was not aware of, that we do have a stop sign policy for the city of Hudson, but it probably is outdated as well by the size of our growth, and it needs to be reviewed as well.
Well, and the stop sign policy says a stop sign's not used to slow traffic.
Yep.
Right, I know.
Control right away.
Right.
Yep. So,
Well, and we have to be careful, because if you put in a stop sign and that stop sign causes an accident, the city can get sued for that. So just all sorts of,
So I just want to start the conversation. I want the general public to understand that we are aware of that intersection, and that it will be something that will be addressed here in the near future.
good.
Okay. Informational items. EMS, John, good to see you.
Yeah. So, few updates for EMS. I think the last time I was here, I talked about our staffing issues. We have, I think we've rebounded pretty good with staffing. We only have one open full-time position right now. One of the good things, three of our employees, former employees that left to pursue employment elsewhere, have all returned.
Wow.
So
It's not
that's
green on the other side all the time.
exciting. We've had, so like I said, one open position right now. So we're onboarding. I think there's 4 people this month that we're onboarding. So we got a little bit before they're all going to be onboarded. So they're in their training phase, but there's light at the end of the tunnel. We've had a busy summer just with events. Nothing big has come out of these events. It's just every single weekend we got something going on somewhere that needs a truck dedicated to for an hour or 2 or half a day, or when we have the concerts, full days. For July in the city of Hudson, we had 150 calls. Of those 150, 114 were lights and siren response. 36 were just routine, no lights and sirens. In July, we had 78 transfers out of Hudson Hospital to other facilities, so that's over and above the 150 calls. Our average response time for July was 3.4 3 minutes and 40 seconds, and then the 90 percentile, we were at 6 minutes and 42 seconds.
Is the system at the county up and running now?
It's not.
Okay.
They're working on it, so, you know, originally when they talked about that, they told us it potentially could be a year process to do. But they're working on it to the point where I'm not even involved. Terry has a little bit of involvement, but it's the companies themselves that are doing all the behind-the-scenes work. Every time I see Terry, he says, "Oh, we have a conference call every once in a while." So things are moving forward, and Alina tells me the same thing, so. So
Sorry to
that's good
interrupt.
news. Again, that's gonna make a difference. Again, I think I reported last time I was here that we've seen a difference in the process that the county used to do and what they do today is different. It's more favorable to how we operate everywhere else, so that shaves a lot of time off of there. Again, when they get busy, they're busy, and there's those delays, but again, we're still responding when that page goes out. Mutual aid calls for July, we had 1 in the city of Hudson. As a service, in July, we did 1,076 calls for our entire service area. And then this weekend on Saturday, the Gopher to Badger half marathon ends here in town, so we'll be here covering that. And then next weekend is Pepperfest, so that's kind of our updates. Oh, ambulances too, I should update you on that. So right now, we have 6 ambulances on order. We have 4 new ambulances on order. This is not an addition to what I've reported in the past. We still have 2 new ambulances that have been on order since 2021. Expected delivery on those was supposed to be January 2024. It's now been pushed out to May of 2024. So we put in an additional order for 2 more. And then we have 2 rebuilds on order right now. We took delivery of 1 rebuilt last month. That's in service. You'll see that truck around. It's got a different design. It's still the Health Partners design, but they changed the logo, because that's what marketing does.
Is it still black?
Well, no, it's the same thing, but the logo's flipped upside down. It looks like a mountain on the side of the ambulance. So that's one of the new rebuilt trucks. And then just because of our age of our fleet, I just put in a recommendation for an emergency capital expense to put a chassis under an ambulance, because I don't know that I can make it. You know, it's just terrible. 2 weeks ago, we had 3 crews out of service because of vehicle breakdowns. And it wasn't the issue of getting them in to get them fixed. They couldn't find the parts. So one of the crews that was in limbo waiting for the parts or the trucks to get fixed, we sent them an hour and a half west of the Twin Cities, where they found a part to pick it up on our own because nobody could deliver it. It was on a Friday, of course, but that's just what we've been running into with vehicle issues. So that's it for us.
Thank you. Fire Chief.
The only thing in your packet was the calls for service for July. Extremely busy month with our calls last night. We're at 392 for the year. We're 100 shy of what we did last year, so we're on pace for 600 this year. Quite an increase of calls. The only other big thing I'll touch on is the storm that we had on the 24th and all the damage we had in the city. We did use a lot of mutual aid from surrounding departments to assist, not knowing the size and the scope of what had happened. We called for help. We did use all the departments that responded to some level, so that worked really well. And with that storm and a lot of the damage that happened, we're actually starting to revise some of our internal procedures for houses or for structures that are damaged, whether it's trees into them, could be cars that drive into them, whatever. We're actually updating and changing some of our internal procedures, and then actually creating some placards that will get posted on these buildings after they've been inspected. So it's a work in progress. So.
Well, I want to take the time to thank you and all the departments that helped you. You called for Mavis, it worked, and I had the privilege of listening in on some of the events, and it sounded like you had it well under control.
Yeah.
So on behalf of Hudson, thank you for how you methodically went up and down and helped out the residents of Hudson and North Hudson.
Yeah, it went well. So, and just a reminder, September 9th is our 150th anniversary open house celebration. It'll be an all-day 10 to 4 celebration. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on up there. They got a fun run in the morning, different events, different demos during the day. So if you're able to make it 10 to 4, we'd appreciate it. It should be a pretty big event. So we're doubling up what our normal fire prevention week open house would be in October. We moved it back into September. Part of it was to get it closer to the September 11th date. So there should be a bunch of information coming out on that.
All right, thank you. Jeff?
No updates. Ho-Sing Lo, our newest officer, is pretty much about to finish field training here in the next week or 2, 3. So he'll be out on his own here in short order. Busy month for us again. 1,500 calls for service. in the month. Last year, same month, we did 1,400, so a little bit busier than last year. But, I mean, that's the trend we see, and especially June, July, and August around here is just, it's busy for everybody. No other updates, just really working with the different community events that are going on through pretty much September to make sure that we have that all squared away. Other than that,
Excellent, thank you. A couple things. The warning sirens. I've been approached by a few residents asking what happened. I think that needs to be explained a little better. And who is our emergency coordinator now? Is it still Jeff? Okay. I wasn't sure just because of the changes, but.
yeah. You want that explanation now or what?
Yep.
Okay. First and foremost, weather sirens are not intended to be heard indoors. They're not for people that are already in shelter to hear them. It's for people that are outside to say, oh boy, something's coming, I need to seek shelter. Okay. With this event, we blew the sirens off while the storm was kind of happening, after the storm had happened. But that was our call to blow the sirens off because the National Weather Service didn't even know anything was happening. It literally formed over the St. Croix River and was here. So what are you going to do?
Right.
That's the best explanation we have.
Okay. And in a normal event, how does it work?
In a normal event, the National Weather Service will indicate that there's a potential for severe weather approaching our county, and they will issue a warning for our county.
Now, is it countywide or municipality-wide?
Countywide. Now, there are different zones within the county, but if a warning is issued for a county by the National Weather Service, which is how it's done by county, not even sections of counties, right? It's the entire county. Doesn't matter. Sometimes you'll hear the sirens go off and you'll look outside and it's a bright sunny day and it never rains. But Somerset and Richmond are getting throttled, right? So they go throughout the entire county once a warning is issued. But the warning's got to be issued. Or the other thing is that we can see weather happening. It's still going to be too late because it's already here. We see the high wind, we see the hail. And then we tell dispatch to sound the sirens, and then we're responsible to tell the National Weather Service why we did that, which is easy to do, but it's still going to be too late. It's already going to be on top of you.
Sure.
Being on a border town between two states and the river is really what we want to tell people to get off the water if something's coming, if they're not sky aware. Most people that spend a lot of time outdoors are pretty adept at being sky aware, but you have to be sky aware out there. But that's the reason for moving once the fire department went away over the old fire department building. That's the reason we moved that siren to that location, is so that the people in the marina and the people in the park and the people on the river can hear it better. But in some situations with those storms that just pop up out of nowhere, there's nothing anybody can do.
Okay, so all the sirens are working and operational?
They are working. They were just tested the Wednesday before that storm. They were all working properly. They're still all working properly.
Okay. And
But that's why.
Do we have the posted information of the sirens somewhere that if somebody wanted to know what was going on, they could go to the police department and see, or wherever we posted in the city website? When warning signs, why, what zones,
When warnings, what?
when it's activated, what to do?
So if the siren goes off, what should citizens do if they're already
Shelter.
in place in shelter and they want to know what the emergency is and want more information? Where can they go to get more information?
They go to the National Weather Service or turn on the news.
Okay.
So we as a
Weather radio.
municipality don't have it posted about when is the call to hit the horn?
No, anytime there is a severe weather warning, a severe thunderstorm warning, or a tornado warning issued for St. Croix County, those sirens will sound.
Okay.
That's the only time they'll sound.
Okay.
Unless there's some other kind of civil emergency and we decide
Right.
as emergency responders we need to warn some people.
I'm just trying to want to make it as simple as possible for our citizens to
That's-
understand what's going on with our
That's it.
emergency
A severe-
warnings.
A severe weather warning of any kind, a warning, which means it's coming, it's imminent, right? That's gonna sound the sirens. That's gonna sound all the sirens we have in the city.
Okay.
And if
But
it's a warning issued for the entire county, they will sound in every municipality at the same time.
The other thing, again, to reiterate what Jeff said, is they're not intended for people to be heard indoors. That's a misconception. That's a misconception everywhere. The second thing is, the Weather Service has criteria to warn a storm, to make it a warning. It's half-inch hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds, right? And a lot of that's radar indicator of somebody on the ground. Well, a lot of times a storm is still building, and as it comes through here, it's strong, but then it becomes warning criteria, right? Now the hail got bigger, the winds got stronger, and now they sound the warning, and the storm's already gone through here, right? So at the time the storm was here, it may not have met the criteria for them to issue the warning, but as the storm continues to build, it gets bigger, it becomes that. A lot of counties, I shouldn't say a lot, there's counties in Wisconsin that are going away from sirens. They're not even maintaining them anymore because everything can come on this. You can get your weather alerts, and I want to say it's Taylor County or some Lincoln County up north. They've done away with sirens because it's a cost that they can't incur, and you can get everything on here.
You can subscribe to weather radio. There's apps on here. The Weather Channel will send you updates. I mean, it is pretty user-friendly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay, good to know. Anything for future agendas?
So, at the council meeting after Pride Fest, I talked about some suggestions for updating our protest policies and things like that. Celeste Cabral has done some research and given it to me. I've just started looking it over, and I will be sending that on to, I'll start with Aaron and Jeff to talk about it and get things started, and then I'll bring it to public safety first.
Okay. Anything else? Is there a motion?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
We stand adjourned. Thank you.